It's a total witch hunt. It's a Democrat hoax.
They have this witch hunt.
That was a Democrat hoax. It's a witch hunt. Phony witch hunt. It was a hoax.
It's like a witch hunt. It's like a witch hunt.
This is a hoax. The witch hunt continues. I call it the Russian hoax.
The witch hunt, as I call it.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Steve Williams. I'm here with Bobby BLIATOUT. Welcome to the Steve and Bobby Show. And today we are going to be talking about the witch hunt.
The witch hunt. You saw that video right there.
Yes, you guys just saw the video of Donald Trump, who basically thinks that the world is after him, that the Congress is after him. And, you know, there is so much going on in the world of Trump right now in the sense of this, there's so many investigations going on with the Mueller probe and a lot of this things that it seems as though Trump is being, what do you call it? How can you say being centered on? But the real fact here is, and I think we need to look at this in a realistic manner.
You don't want to laugh about it first? No.
Well, no, check this out. No, look.
I really think it's funny because it came back at him for him to label this as a witch hunt.
Right.
Right from the very get-go. Guys, it's just a witch hunt. I mean, the base went after it. His base completely fell prey to, like, it's just a witch hunt. You're not going to find anything. And if you do find something, it's going to be petty.
Right.
Right? And it's not petty.
No,
right?
it's serious.
And when we look at how serious this is, right? That's why his base has stopped using the word witch hunt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
But it don't seem like Trump stopped using the word witch hunt. He continues.
We are using the word witch hunt. When I say we, it's the people who know that it's not a witch hunt.
Yeah.
And now it's something to laugh at, has become a label, because it's a mockery of, you know, what he's trying to say, that what Robert Mueller is doing is a witch hunt, and he doesn't believe in them, and he's not pushing for justice for the right. Yeah, you know, he's getting in the way of these. Well, we'll talk about that in a bit. But these things are happening, and now they're coming back on Donald Trump. So they're coming back against the president. A witch hunt is a real hunt.
Is a little out there. So you got William Barr, who's going up for confirmation for the Attorney General, and he was asked some specific questions regarding the investigation, and because we know that Donald Trump thinks it's a witch hunt.
Right.
I mean, he is adamant about that, right? And a lot of his followers are adamant about that. I think that if you itemize everything and you look at everything, right? Like, I mean, let's take a look. Let's put up George Papadopoulos. George Papadopoulos, he's the former campaign foreign policy advisor, right? And he pleaded guilty last October for making false. I think he actually served time already. 3 weeks, I don't know what it was, but that's a federal crime on him. You had Paul Manafort. Put up Paul Manafort here. There's Paul Manafort there with our wonderful Trump. Trump's former campaign chair was indicted on a total of 25 different counts. Mueller's team was working on you know what? Let's put the fact here for Paul Manafort, because this is actually important on Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort is not just a U.S. lobby guy, right? He's actually a world-renowned political strategist. He works all around the world. And one of the places that Paul Manafort had worked prior to the Trump campaign was in the Ukraine. He was hired by a Russian lobby group in the Ukraine to push some of Putin-backed politicians in that country. Okay, let's not forget that part. Paul Manafort worked for the Ukrainians, which is a satellite basically of the Russians, right? Was paid by, you know, Putin and lobby groups that are connected to Putin. This is all well documented. So that's important. So let's put up Rick Gates. Rick Gates is the other individual, a former Trump campaign aide. He pleaded guilty to false statements charges and conspiracy charges. That's Rick Gates. We have Michael Flynn. Now, everybody should know who Michael Flynn is. There's Michael Flynn, the general. Now, Michael Flynn, this is so depressing for me with Michael Flynn, because Michael Flynn he was a general. He was well respected. He was loved in the military community, much like Mad Dog Mattis was. But he was, I think he just pleaded, what was it that he pleaded last December? Oh, making false statements to the FBI. He was making false statements to the FBI, and I think he is in a deal with Mueller and giving information that we all don't know what it is, right? Okay, then we had Richard Pinedo, who pleaded guilty to identity theft, charge in connection with Russian indictments. We also had Alex Vanderschwan. He was the London lawyer that was connected to Manafort. We had Kinston, I can't pronounce this guy's name. He's a Russian, Kelmanak. He's a longtime business associate of Manafort. We have Michael Cohen. We know who Michael Cohen is. Put him up. There's Michael Cohen. Oh, lovely Michael Cohen, who's in the news right now. Who just right now, actually, Michael Cohen was supposed to be in the front of, he was supposed to have a congressional hearing, right? Michael Cohen.
Yeah, next month though.
Next month.
In February, isn't it?
He was supposed to have one. He just backed out of it because he said that he was getting threats from Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani. So he actually backed out. He said something about his family or whatever it is. And then we have Sam Payton. Go ahead, put Sam Payton on. This guy is a Republican operative and lobbyist. He pleaded guilty to registering as a foreign agent with his work with Ukraine. So basically, Sam Payton, most of these people that you see on here are connected to Manafort. Most of these people that you see on here are connected to Russians. So he complains of the fact that why is he so lenient to Russia? Okay, let's not forget that President Obama put sanctions against Russia during the campaign, during the presidential campaign. You can't talk to Russia unless you're the president of the United States. He wasn't the president then. And so I think that, I don't know what you think about this, but I'm going to go ahead and say that it's not a witch hunt.
It's not a witch hunt. It's not a witch hunt, right? And I'll tell you, I really try to get into Donald Trump's mind, and he's saying anything that he can.
Right.
And when we talk about involvement of Russians, there are other folks who were indicted as well.
Good point.
Right?
Good 13 civilian Russians.
Right.
Yeah, and 13 or 12 or 13 intelligence officers.
Right. So a witch hunt is when you're trying to find something wrong and there isn't anything there, and you're looking and going through all the evidence and trying to find something, and you just can't, and you're just going to find one bad thing. And a witch hunt does not yield the results that have come through now.
Right. All the
with
indictments.
all these indictments,
Right.
with people pleading guilty.
There's people serving jail time
Yes.
right now
Right.
over this investigation.
Right. So the only thing that I can see that Donald Trump would like to say or is going to say is this, is that all of these people that he was involved with, all these people that were running his campaign, every decision that they made, they did it without telling him.
Isn't that crazy?
Right. I've heard him say that they never should have lied in the first place. They should have just told the truth, because it would have been absolutely legal to tell the truth. In some of those cases, I think that it might be true, like about his dealings with Russia. He might have been able to say, yeah, I have a deal going on in Russia.
Right.
And the people would have went before to Congress and said, yeah, I have, he had a deal with Russia, and he pulled out. If they would have told the truth in the very beginning, it might have been different, okay? But they are his team. They are his campaign team. That was his son in there. That and his kids, and they knew that if they said that it would hurt Dad in his campaign. That they would hurt their boss in their campaign. So they lied.
They incriminated themselves.
Yes, and when they did that, President Trump knew that they did that, and he never came back out for it. Never came out and said, "Hey guys, what are you doing? Stop." Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
He let them continue down the trail. In fact, he let them go, and he probably told them, keep doing it.
Yeah.
He probably said, you started it, keep doing it.
Yeah.
Or he could have just said, you did it. I mean, there's so much.
Stop doing it.
Right. There's so much of this evidence that shows that. That's public. I mean, you don't indict people for no reason.
And it's crazy because a lot of these people are very educated, very smart people. I mean, Michael Flynn was a general in the United States Army. This guy knows. You don't become a general and not know politics. He understands the consequences of lying to a grand jury, lying to an FBI. He knows that. So why would he do it? You see what I'm saying? Is it just incredible that these people are incriminating themselves just because they're just incriminating. They didn't know no better.
There's a lot of good cop, bad cop, or whatever going on. There's game theory. You know, the more people you get, you question one, you question the other. I mean, we've seen it. You see it on TV, and you know, it's game theory.
Yeah.
It's what happens. This is how you get folks.
Yeah.
You know, and it's going to come out, and you're going to hear Donald Trump and more folks say, "Oh, you know, they're just liars. They're just liars. They're just liars." You know?
But the fact is they're.
Well,
it's looking.
They
like
were
it's
liars. They lied, and that's
Yeah.
why they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. And
Right.
so, so that you know, they're all there. They're all causing problems, and they're doing things. So yeah, when you look at everything there, witch hunt, nah,
Not so much.
not anymore. We'll be back, guys.
I have nothing to do with Russia.
I mean, I have nothing to do with Russia. I don't have any jobs in Russia. I'm all over the world, but we're not involved in Russia.
I have no deals in Russia. I have no deals that could happen in Russia because we've stayed away. We could make deals in Russia very easily if we wanted to. I just don't want to because I think that would be a conflict. She always likes to tie me in with Russia. I have nothing to do with Russia, folks. I have nothing to do with Russia. I have, John, how many times do I have to say it? Are you a smart man? I have nothing to do with Russia. I have nothing to do with Russia. How many times do I have to answer this question?
Can you just say
Russia
yes or no
is
on
a
it?
ruse. He put out a statement talking about a project which was essentially, I guess, more or less of an option that we were looking at in Moscow. Everybody knew about it. It was written about in newspapers. It was a well-known project. It was during the early part of 16, and I guess even before that. It lasted a short period of time. I didn't do the project. I decided not to do the project.
Welcome back, everybody. How are you doing? As you heard the video, Donald Trump has no dealings with Russia.
Do you
None.
believe that?
Of course
Do
I
you
don't.
believe that?
Of course I don't. Does anybody at this point believe that?
I don't understand how there are people out there that feel that he doesn't have any relationship with Russia. Okay? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. When I talk to folks who stand behind Donald Trump and I stomach it and talk to them and figure it out, and they're like, no, he doesn't deal with Russia. He said it. I mean, we saw on the campaign trail.
Right.
He had no dealings with Russia. He has nothing to do with Russia.
Right.
And then that last part of that video, he
involved.
he had to deal with Russia and he chose not to do it, but he could have, but he chose not to do it. You know, he decided not to. The point is, he had dealings with Russia, and if you believe that
At this point, in this
that
stage
he
of the
never
game.
had relationships with Russia,
Right.
then you know I got some bridges over the ocean to sell you.
To sell you. Yeah, and I think when you look at the idea of this whole witch hunt and this Russia thing, you'll notice when the campaign started, he was so adamant of the fact that he had nothing to do with Russia. I mean, he was adamant about that. He was specific. You've seen it in the video. I had no dealings with Russia. I have nothing. I could deal with Russia, but I don't deal with Russia. You know, whatever that
Putin
means.
is a great leader. He's a great leader. Putin's a strong leader. All right.
Okay, you know. So the funny thing is when all this was going on, he had a lot of dealings with Russia, actually. And in fact, I think Don Jr., I wish I had the clip, but I don't have the clip right now. Don Jr. had made a comment that he was working a deal in Russia in 2006, which kind of led me, if Donald Trump had dealings in 2006 with Russia, there's got to be something out there, right, of him. So it winds up that he does. So we had this gentleman here, Felix Sater. Put that up there, Felix Sater. Old Mr. Felix Sater there is a Russian immigrant. He's actually, he immigrated from Russia, I think about 25 years ago, came to the United States and started in real estate, in the real estate business. He's an oligarch. He's basically, I guess he's an American oligarch, dual citizenship guy, immigrated to the United States. Donald Trump, of course, met him. It's kind of a coincidence how Donald Trump meets all these Russians conveniently, and met another guy. The other guy is Telvik. Put him up. This guy, I cannot pronounce his name. It's Tevik. Can you pronounce that, Bobby?
What? Tevik.
Tevik Arif.
Right.
Okay, I think that's his name. Tevik Arif is actually part of the Bayrock Group. Bayrock Group is a huge world international real estate conglomerate. It's huge. And they do dealings basically all over the world. But it's basically controlled by Russians. Russian oligarchs. It's basically, I don't know if you can say where Russians conveniently can put their money outside of Russia, buying real estate. I didn't say launder money. I did not say that, Bobby.
Well, in all honesty, though, I can hear people arguing when we say that.
Yeah.
So what? He did business with people out of this country. Is there anything wrong with that?
Right.
I mean, he did business with these guys.
Right.
Of course he would know them. He did business with these guys. And was there anything wrong with doing that?
Well, here's the problem that I have. Yeah, there is something wrong with that. He just said he didn't. We just saw the video, right? He said he didn't. But listen, you're right. And I think what Donald Trump was doing in the video during the campaign trail is not too much different of what Michael Cohen did, with what Michael Flynn did, what Paul Manafort did. They basically told a little fib during the campaign, right? But all those other guys are either going to jail, in jail, or about to go to jail, or they're about to get a sentence, right?
Right.
For the exact same thing that Donald Trump was doing.
And the difference is that he probably told them to continue lying. He told them to lie.
Do you really think that he told every one of them to lie?
If he asked, are you loyal?
Yeah.
Right?
The loyal pledge.
Right?
Yes.
You loyal? Are you a loyal person? Are you loyal? Are you you know what he's saying? Are you going to lie for me?
Yeah.
Are you going to go to jail for me?
Yeah.
Are you going to back me up? I mean, that's what he's asking.
Right.
And he has to ask in such a way that like he's looking for that week. Yeah, I'm loyal. Don't worry. Don't worry. And then that's what he's doing. I mean, if you just look at human nature, his history, I mean, that's what he's doing. Now, in a court of law, I mean, the winks and all those things, I guess they don't matter, right?
Right.
For criminal intent, right?
Right.
But when you look at this, my thing is Donald Trump that ringleader, or is someone else telling him to lie too?
Good point.
Is someone else pulling the strings there so that he can get a piece of the pie somewhere else? Right? I mean, why would these people lie? Why would Michael Flynn lie? Why would they lie? Because they want their positions. They it's their career.
Yeah.
They feel they can get something out of it. So why would President Trump lie? What does he want out of it?
As simplistic as that answer is, I think it is, because I don't think Donald Trump is very complicated. I don't. I think it's a money thing. It's a money issue. He wants to grow his business. The problem is when you run for president of the United States, people you get micromanaged, right? And when you get micromanaged, they're going to want to know every single thing about you, about your wife, about your kids, about your business, your taxes, all that. He just refused to show his taxes, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of sources saying that Mueller's team already has Donald Trump's taxes, and they're looking at him. And even with that, I think it's going to show in those taxes if there was anything illegal, I feel. And I think, we should give Mueller's team, some time to look this stuff up and verify it. But, he screams this witch hunt. He screams that the world is after him. He screams all of this nonsense when later on we find out, okay, no, you did have dealings. I mean, he had the Miss Universe contest in 2013 in Russia.
Right.
In Russia.
Right.
That's what's crazy, It's insane that there's a lot of supporters, Bobby, that are he had no dealings with Russia. They really, and I give this idea, I tell them, okay, well, how about the Miss Universe? That's a dealing. I mean, he had to get hotels. I mean, that's a dealing in Russia, right? Oh, no, he had somebody else do that. But he was in Russia. He got a flight to go to Russia. He talked to people in Russia, right? So, I don't know, I mean.
That's his deal, that's his thing.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I think a lot of people don't understand when you deal with countries like this. You actually got to have relations with the government.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you don't just get to do big things like this there.
Yeah, very good
And so, in order to have that kind of influence in countries like that, you got to know the government. You
got to know the legalities of it,
right.
the laws.
And so you're there, your company's doing it, you're pushing it, you make an appearance, you're talking about it. That's a big part of your business, a big part of your publicity.
Yeah.
You have to have those relationships. So it's very believable that he does have these things. And
Yeah.
when you can kind of believe it, or you believe it,
He has what thing?
Relationships with the Russians.
Oh,
right? With,
okay,
with, with the dealings with,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the,
yeah, yeah.
you know, now we know he did,
Yeah.
because we know that
Yeah.
he was talking about putting a tower there and stuff. But that has gone way far back in history, right? That he's had this relationship with them. I mean, the accusations that he was going to give somebody, I don't know if it was Putin, but the penthouse in
it was
inside,
Putin.
yeah, Putin
$10 million penthouse.
or
Or 50 million, whatever it was.
in his Trump towers in Russia. So he had those relationships. You know, I mean, he had a good enough relationship with Putin to know that Putin was a good guy in his heart, in his mind. And he thinks, I don't, you know, obviously I don't think that.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump knew that he was a good guy, not because he studied Putin, not because he studied his strategies. I mean, Donald Trump didn't know that Puerto Rico was part of America. So I know he didn't study Russia. He knew Russia because he has relations with Russia. So I can make that accusation. Doesn't mean it's true. You're hearing on the show. It doesn't mean it's true just because you heard it here. But we all can believe that he had those relations. And when you have a little bit of that belief, it warrants such an investigation when we're talking about the President of the United States.
So is it possible that of all the things that Donald Trump does, all the things that he's involved in, is it possible that Donald Trump was just, and I don't mean this in a mean way, I mean it in an honest way. Do you think he was just ignorant to it? Do you think that he was ignorant to the fact that he needed to go through, you know, that he needed to go through the government to see what was legal? Do you think he was just ignorant to that and didn't care, maybe?
No, not
Okay,
at
so
all.
you think he knows?
No, if he was ignorant to something, he just blurts it out. So he knew that his relationships with Russia
Was wrong.
He might not have known it's wrong, but he knew that it's something that could hurt his campaign. So he did his best to keep that from the public.
So was it a personal endeavor?
Right. And because he's running and the family knows, like, hey, everyone's going to hate it that you have relations with Russia.
It wouldn't look good.
Yeah. So let's keep that out of the, you know, out of the spotlight.
So it was a
and let's
political
move forward.
move.
Yeah. No, I think it was.
Yeah, it
because
was a political strategy.
Right. Because in 2006, he'd say, yeah, I have
So
relations
was that
with Russia.
political strategy mapped out by Manafort? Do you think?
Oh yeah. Now when you come to
Steve Bannon?
ignorance, when you come to ignorance, I can say not to be offensive or even be offensive.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, in what I've seen, he really depends on the people that he has around him. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it is those people who has built him, and he chose those folks. Okay.
Yeah.
He chose them, and when they don't work out, he fires them. And he does that. So that's the, you know, the skill that he has is like, hey, my pockets aren't getting fatter, so you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. And we see this in this administration. Like, you haven't got rid of Mueller, you're gone. You haven't got rid of this witch hunt, you're gone. You haven't held the, you know, took care of the public's view of me, you're gone. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who he hasn't fired that I think are doing a terrible job, like Betsy DeVos. But she, you know, did
Trying to privatize the school system.
But nothing has been attacking Trump on her behalf, so she's safe. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, definitely
And so,
does.
you know, Donald Trump depends on the people who's around him. Donald Trump loves to reward the people that are around him. And he does that, and he's been doing that his whole life.
Yeah.
And that's how he runs things.
You know, and you bring up Betsy DeVos because that's kind of funny. You know who Betsy DeVos's brother is? Prince, the owner of Blackwater. The owner of Blackwater was in Syria. I don't know if you recall, about a year and a half ago, there were Russian troops that got killed by American troops. I think it was 200 Russian mercenaries that were.
Go ahead.
There were 200 Russian mercenaries in Syria that were killed, that attacked an American base that they thought was a rebel base. They were Russian mercenaries. They didn't realize American forces were there. And I do believe it was an honest mistake by the Russian mercenaries. But the U.S. killed 200 of those mercenaries that were linked to Prince of Blackwater, who I think it's called O now. I think he changed the name. But Betsy DeVos and Prince are brothers. A lot of people don't know that. And so...
Siblings.
Siblings. Oh, yeah. What'd I say? Brother? Well, Betsy DeVos, yeah. Okay, I guess it could be brother, sister.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another Russian connection.
Yeah.
You know, so all this thing about witch hunt is not so much.
Well, there's a lot of dots to connect.
Yeah.
And you connect the dots. And so that's the thing that, you know, that Mueller is doing.
Yeah.
And we just let let it take place.
Yeah, let it flow.
Right, and so the point is, it's not a witch hunt. And if you can't see that now, look back through the evidence again.
You're about to see it. Anyway, we'll catch you in a little bit. Meet us on the other side. Welcome back, everybody. So we were talking about Donald Trump's witch hunt accusation.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I mean, we kind of went through that too.
Yeah, I mean, if you still don't believe it, right? If you still think that that it is a witch hunt, that it truly is a witch hunt, let's look back again. I mean, these are the faces of the folks that have already been indicted. Some of them already pleaded guilty, serving time in jail. This many people. Right, and then we still didn't put up about 25 other pictures of folks because we couldn't find all of them.
Yeah.
But there's 25 other individuals that are involved and have been indicted for a connection with Russia, possible involvement in ruining our elections. If you still believe that this administration didn't do it because you believe the words of Donald Trump where he didn't have any relationship with Russia.
Yeah.
We went back over that as well, right? We talked about since 2006.
Yep.
His dealings with with Russia, with the dealings with getting Miss Universe over in Russia, how in order to do big grand things like that, you have to be able to have relationships with the government in order to do that. I mean, his promise to Putin about having a penthouse. I memean, he even comes back and saying, okay, we did have some deal, but that came off the table. Those are all relations with the Russian government.
And the real big thing here, I think, is it's not so bad that he's dealing with Russia because we didn't have sanctions on Russia the whole time. It was just basically at the back end of Obama administration's, right?
Right.
So I don't understand.
Why lie?
Why lie?
Why lie?
Why are you lying?
Why lie? I mean, we talked about it. Why lie? Because he wanted to run for president.
And it made him look bad and it hurt his approval rating.
And so they decided, somebody decided that
Steve Bannon?
Someone decided that that's the right thing to do is
Roger
to lie.
Stone.
Right.
He's a lobbyist.
Yeah. And so they had a good campaign to win.
Yeah.
And they moved forward with that.
And I want to say, I want to say this because Donald Trump is not a good candidate. The way that campaign was ran and the way he won is actually pretty good, if you think about it. I mean, he beat probably one of the most qualified candidates that we've had in a very long time. Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. She was the wife of a well-liked president. Clinton is a very liked president. She was a senator for New York. She came out of Arkansas.
An established politician.
An established politician. Yeah. But that's not what they want. That's not what what people wanted.
Right.
They wanted something new. That's why Obama won. And you know what I mean? They wanted a new politician.
Right. And so Donald Trump fit the bill for a lot of these folks, a lot of these QAnon folks, a lot of these folks who feel that there's some global world government
Alex
that's controlling
Jones of
everything.
The world.
Yes. And a lot of people bought into it. He fed it. And he said, look, they're trying to come after me because, they're using these Russian things which don't exist.
Right.
So,
and he was able to also, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but he was also able to connect to a lot of, and I hate to use this, and I'm going to use this term just so people understand what I'm talking about, flyover states. I hate using that term. But for the case of this, because I don't know any other way of saying it, these flyover states, that people tend to ignore. They go there for Iowa and Idaho and Montana and these states that people tend to forget. Trump really connected to these people in these states. No matter where you fall on how you think of Trump, doesn't matter, right? He was and his core base, even up to just recently, were loyal to Trump.
Right, and that's the thing is that people are starting to fall away from him.
Right. The core guys, the ones that were unwilling.
The drop of his base or the drop of his approval rating was what?
30. He was at 50-some%. He's at the newest Gallup poll was, I think, 36%. Right. A drop of 18%.
Right. That's 18%
drop in 30 days.
Right, and that's huge. And it's not just the things that you can say it's a shutdown.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are giving him the blame for the shutdown. But it really is, I think people are starting to see that it really is his lies.
Yeah. And it's not really a witch hunt.
Right. And it's a witch hunt, but it's his lying.
Yeah.
It's his,
constant,
his lying, and his lying to the base. I didn't support Russia. You know, I had no relationships with Russia.
But he gets people that gets convicted.
I have none. And then so his base or his supporters say, oh, it's a witch hunt.
Yeah.
And they go on the line to defend him.
Yeah.
And he lets them down this way.
Yeah.
You know, all of these things, it makes people wonder, like, is he telling the truth?
Right.
Is he really one of those, the established folks, or someone who's trying to replace them?
Yeah.
And they are starting to fall away from him. You know, and it's not racism.
Yeah.
It's not any label,
Yeah.
because there's we still have those. You know, there are those people who believe if you're conservative, you're a racist.
Yeah.
If you're a Democrat, you're a socialist liberal that wants to give everything away, right?
Yeah.
And it's not. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It has to do with the person that President Trump is.
Yeah.
And it has to do for them.
It's the morality
Yes,
of him.
he lies.
Yeah.
And he lied to them, and he's continuing to lie every day, and they
It's starting to
can't
chip
trust
away.
to put their name on the line for him.
It's chipping away.
Yeah,
of his,
it's
of his
going.
core
And I'm
base.
telling you, I see resignation.
Yeah. Yeah, you keep saying that. So you got the core of his base dropping. I mean, you got 18%. I mean, that's a huge drop. It's one of the largest. It's a huge, numerically, that's huge.
Yes.
And I think we are starting to see, especially with the government shutdown, you mentioned that, 800,000. How many of those 800,000 voters do you think, if you go by 30%, let's just say 35%, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's 30,
Yeah.
that's 35,000 for every 100,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people that are starting to see, okay, now you're affecting me personally.
Yeah.
Trump, maybe it's not a witch hunt. Maybe you just need to tell the truth.
Yes, and that's why it's very, very important to vote. I mean, I've seen lies from the very get-go.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's what's there, and I made my vote, and people made votes, but a lot of folks think that, it won't affect me.
Yeah.
That's a big reason. It's like, I can't change government, I can't
Very
change
good point.
anything, so
Yep.
I don't need to waste my time to vote.
Yep.
And we worked really hard to get people to understand that their vote counts, and it really does. I mean, look at what had happened.
The consequences of the Donald Trump presidency.
A big part of it really is, the Hillary Bernie thing. That's what I believe in, and there are a lot of folks who just decided not to vote, or to vote away, and not vote for our Democratic candidate at that point. And this is what we got, and we have to make sure as we move in to this next election process that we stand strong and get rid of him. If I'm wrong, he doesn't resign.
And that we don't overcompensate.
Right, and we have to, we have a lot of candidates.
Do you believe that, because we had President Barack Obama, and there's a lot of hardcore conservatives that simply just did not like Barack Obama. So to me, the way it looks to me is they overcompensated. They went to this maniac, you know what I'm saying? That, I'm going to vote for, I don't care, it's anybody but the Democrats.
Right.
And they overcompensate.
That's our world today.
Yeah.
Right? That's our world today. And that's what I talk about, the labels of Democrats and conservatives, and how we can't even have a conversation anymore. Right? Mm-hmm. And so when we stop and look at the history, we look at the evidence and the truth of the matter, and we're looking at this stuff here, it's not a witch hunt. This president has been lying to us.
Yep.
This president doesn't have our best interests at play.
Yeah.
And we need to do something about it. It's not a political argument on these things. I mean, what we're talking about, just lying.
Yeah.
Like outright lying in front of us.
Lying.
And he's getting in trouble, and these people are committing crimes.
Yeah.
They're going to jail. This is bad. This is bad.
And you had Michael Flynn lying. I mean, you have Michael Flynn lying. You have, I guess Michael Cohen. He's not a true up guy, but there's a lot of legitimate people that have gotten in trouble in the Trump administration for lying. Look at Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I mean, she was pretty well known, even within the conservative circles, as a pretty honest person. No, I'm serious.
Has that changed?
Well, well, maybe not to conservatives, but I mean, come on, this girl lies daily, and she has to come back and correct herself because of what Donald Trump tells her. You see what? I would
she has
not
to
want
catch
her
herself
job.
on that. Yeah, no, I wouldn't either.
I
mean, she
would
was.
not
Remember,
want her job.
She wasn't the first one there.
Yeah. Okay.
She's not the first one in that position. And so the point being, everybody, we know it's not a witch hunt. and we know that there has been lying. We know that there has been relationships in the past. And so what we need to do now is let Robert Mueller play out this investigation. Let him do his job. And we need to tell our Congress members and everyone else that let them do their job, let it move forward, and let's see what happens and what his findings are, and we move on from there.
Yeah.
It's simple as that.
It's that simple.
It's not
That
about
simple.
being a liberal or conservative.
It's just being honest.
Right, and just let it take place.
Take it place.
Okay? So thank you for joining our show. This is the Steve and Bobby Show. Check us out next time. We have a lot of other videos up. Here we are at Mad Talk TV production studios and stuff. So we'll catch you
Thank
later.
you.